if you spent your life savings on 2 pizzas and then watched that money grow into over $1 billion in someone else's pocket? That's not a hypothetical. It actually happened, and the story behind it teaches us more about money than almost anything else in modern history. Welcome to The Thinking Economist. In May of 2010, a programmer named Laszlo Hanyecz posted a simple message online. He offered 10,000 Bitcoin to anyone who would order him 2 pizzas. At the time, Bitcoin was a strange new experiment that almost nobody had heard of, let alone trusted. A teenager accepted the offer, paid for 2 pizzas with ordinary cash, and received 10,000 Bitcoin in return. That transaction, worth about $40 at the time, is now remembered as one of the most expensive purchases in history. Because years later, as Bitcoin's price climbed into the tens of thousands of dollars per coin, that same 10,000 Bitcoin would have been worth more than $1 billion. To understand why this moment matters, we have to go back further. Bitcoin was born out of the wreckage of the 2008 financial crisis, a time when banks collapsed, trust in financial institutions crumbled, and governments stepped in with massive bailouts. Amid that chaos, someone using the name Satoshi Nakamoto proposed a radical idea. What if people could send money directly to each other without needing a bank in the middle at all? That idea became Bitcoin. But here's the problem Bitcoin had to solve first. Digital information can be copied endlessly. If you send someone a photo, you still have the original. So how do you send someone a digital coin without secretly keeping a copy for yourself and spending it twice? Bitcoin's answer involved cryptography, a decentralized network of computers, and a public ledger called the blockchain, where every transaction is recorded and verified by the network itself instead of by a single bank. When Bitcoin first launched, it had almost no value at all. There were barely any users, no real exchanges, and almost nowhere to spend it. Early holders could mine thousands of coins without feeling remotely wealthy because the coins themselves weren't yet worth anything meaningful. This is the detail people forget when they judge Laszlo's decision. 10,000 Bitcoin in 2010 simply did not feel like a fortune. It felt like an experiment. Laszlo wasn't reckless. He was one of the earliest and most active Bitcoin developers, known for pioneering more efficient ways to mine the currency. His goal with the pizza trade wasn't to get rich or to make headlines. It was to prove something. He wanted to show that Bitcoin could actually be exchanged for a real physical product, not just traded between enthusiasts online. In that sense, the pizza wasn't a mistake. It was a test, and the test worked. For the first time, Bitcoin had been used to buy something tangible in the real world. Now here's where it gets interesting economically. It's tempting to say Laszlo paid $1 billion for 2 pizzas, but that's not quite accurate. He paid 10,000 Bitcoin, which at the time were worth about $40. The $1 billion figure only appears when we ask a different question. What would those coins have been worth if he had simply kept them? That question has a name in economics. It's called opportunity cost, the value of the next best alternative you give up when you make a choice. Laszlo didn't lose $1 billion. He gave up the possibility of having $1 billion later, a possibility he couldn't have known about at the time. And that's the key. In 2010, nobody knew Bitcoin would succeed. It could have failed completely. Governments could have banned it. Another technology could have replaced it entirely. Judging Laszlo's decision using today's prices is a classic case of hindsight bias, evaluating a past choice using information that simply didn't exist when the choice was made. From where Laszlo stood, trading nearly worthless digital coins for 2 real pizzas was a perfectly reasonable trade. Interestingly, Laszlo himself has never described it as a regret. His goal was never to hoard Bitcoin and get rich. It was to prove Bitcoin could function as actual money, something you could spend, not just something you could speculate on. And in some ways, that pizza purchase helped kickstart the very idea that Bitcoin could be used in everyday life, encouraging others to see it as more than just a digital curiosity. This raises a deeper question, one that sits at the heart of economics itself. What actually makes something valuable enough to be called money? A $100 bill is just paper. Gold is just a metal. Bitcoin was just code. None of these things have value on their own. They gain value through scarcity, trust, and widespread acceptance. Bitcoin is deliberately limited to 21 million coins ever, which creates scarcity. But scarcity alone isn't enough. Plenty of scarce things are worthless. What Bitcoin needed was demand, and demand grows through something economists call the network effect. The idea that a system becomes more valuable as more people use it. A currency nobody accepts is useless. A currency millions of people accept becomes powerful. That pizza transaction was one of the earliest sparks of that network beginning to grow.
Every year now, on May 22nd, the anniversary of that trade is celebrated as Bitcoin Pizza Day. People across the crypto world mark the occasion by calculating just how much those 10,000 coins would be worth at current prices, a number that has climbed into the billions during Bitcoin's strongest years. So was it really the most expensive pizza in history? Not in the way it's usually described. Laszlo didn't hand over $1 billion. He handed over something that was, at the time, worth about as much as a large takeout order. The staggering price tag only exists in hindsight, built entirely on what could have been. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Value isn't fixed. It's shaped by time, trust, and the unpredictable choices millions of people make together, often without any idea of what they're building. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to The Thinking Economist, and feel free to share any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions in the comments section. We'll see you in the next one.